Now I want to cover some of the main features of .NET, especially some of the programming things that have changed. Now, this is some really cool stuff. The first thing that changed, object-oriented. The .NET framework has caused ASP and VBNet to become truly object-oriented languages. Now, there was a time in the past when you told a C++ or a C programmer that you programmed in Visual Basic or ASP, they'd laugh and snicker at you and tell you that, yeah, well, you're not really a programmer because those languages did so much for you. There's so many things happening in the background by the compiler and so forth. We have true object-oriented language here now, and there's a lot of power with that. One of the first things that you get with it is inheritance. Now, VB programmers have not been able to do this in the past, and keep in mind, the things I'm about to show you are going to look real funky to you, but you'll get used to them pretty quickly, and hopefully by the end of this video you're going to see some real advantages to using these things. Let's take an example here that we're going to build an application that has to do with animals, and throughout our application we're going to work with a number of different types of animals. Well, inheritance gives us the capability of building a class that has the common attributes of all those animals built into it. So in this instance, we have built the animal class, and notice all animals eat and sleep. So that much we know. Any animal that we want to address in our program is going to have some sort of method for eating and a method for sleeping. Now, I've left some code out here to make it easier for you. Keep in mind, there could be hundreds of lines of code after eat and then hundreds of lines of code after sleep, okay? So we've written all this code for when an animal eats, this happens programmatically. We may want to create an object, write something into a database or whatever. And when an animal sleeps, now, from this, we can now create a cat object. And notice we have created a cat object that inherits from the animal object. Now, the inheritance, what that has given us is it exposes this functionality to our class that is inheriting from it. And this code doesn't actually live out here in this cat class. It actually lives back here in the animal class, but the cat class can see it. And so if we call the cat class and then call the eat method, it will actually go back and run this code right here. So that means that we picked up this functionality automatically through inheritance. And now, obviously, a cat's going to do a couple of extra things that some of the other animals won't do, such as meow or purr. And so we would write code for meow and purr. So now our cat can both eat, sleep, meow, and purr. Now, we can also create another object and inherit from animal. And another class, this class is dog. And class inherits, dog inherits from animal. The dog class inherits from animal. And notice again, the dog class picked up the subs eat and sleep. They have it automatically. So when we call eat, we're actually calling eat right here. But we don't have to write this code. Now, dogs bark and sit. Okay, try to tell a cat to sit. It's not going to happen. So that's something unique to a dog. So we write that code only in the dog class. Now, what's the big deal here? Well, the big deal is that this code we wrote one time. Now, we're using the animal class, we're using it in the cat class, and we're using it in the dog class. We're using it in 3 different classes. So 3 different objects instantiated off these classes will have this code exposed to them, but we only had to write it one time. Now, there's all kinds of things out there on the internet about how great .NET is, and one of the things is the number of lines of code that it alleviates in a project. And I saw one a couple of months ago. They rewrote some sort of manufacturing application, and it dropped 45,000 lines of code and maintained the same functionality. So you can see this can be pretty powerful. Now, I want to show you some more things. The concepts of overloading and overriding. Now, these are closely related to what we just saw with inheritance. Let me show you a quick example of that. Remember in our cat class. Now, the cat, we picked up eat and sleep on the basis that we inherited from the animal class. But we've got another issue here. When their cat eats, we may want to cause something else differently to happen, because a cat may eat different food sometimes than a dog eats. For example, some cats won't eat dry food, so we have to feed them wet food or canned food. So in those instances, what are we going to do? Well, notice I can create another subroutine called eat. Obviously, the only difference that you see on the screen here is this right here, the arguments that we're going to pass this sub when we call it. This is referred to as the signature. So what we can do in the .NET framework is we can have multiple subroutines with the same name, but they can have different signatures, and that will make them unique. So if we call eat without any signatures, without any arguments, then this one is the one that's going to be executed. If we call eat and pass it one single argument that's a string, this is the one that will be executed, and this one won't be. So this is called overloading. We're overloading this method. We're having more than one instance of the method with different signatures, and we can call them based on the arguments we pass to it.